Hi.
Welcome back.
It's great to see you. Did you do something new with your hair? No, I wasn't talking to you. I was
Oh.
talking to them. Sorry. Um, Welcome to another fun-filled episode of Have You Seen?
Mm-hmm.
And my name is Lance.
My name is Nick.
And this week, so I kind of screwed up last week. Usually the format is at the end of the last episode, I say, hey, Nick, have you seen blah?
Yes.
So I choked. So when you watch...
He's got all these movies he could throw at me, and he blanked.
Well, I mean, it's hard because there are so many movies that I love, and right now when we decided we were going to do this, we
Yep.
decided that we were going to do Have You Seen a Good Movie that we like?
Yeah.
And
So
then-
far, they've all been movies that we've
liked, yeah. And then we were going to start throwing curveballs of being like, "Have you seen this movie? I hated." And then I wasn't going to tell you if I hated or loved it, and then you come back next week and be like, "I fucking hated this movie." I'll be like, "I hated this movie too." So I thought that would be fun. But so far we've been, I guess, respectful of each other and
Yes,
been like, "Have you?"
respecting each other's time.
Yeah, yeah.
So one of us here has a kid and doesn't have an unlimited time to watch movies, like me, who's been watching a movie a day all through 2020.
Oh, that sounds awesome. That sounds amazing.
It's now December, when we're recording this at least, and I'm over a movie a day.
Really?
Yeah, it's too many movies.
Oh, you're right at the cut. You're right at the end of it, man.
Yeah, no, I need to finish it out.
Yeah, just push through.
And technically, some of them have been pretty light, like Bo Burnham Inside isn't a movie, but it's an hour and a half, and I watched it a couple, like 3 or 4 times. So,
I'd say feature length is a qualifier.
well, some of them have been like an hour-long comedy specials, and when I want like a nice, easy day, like it's 1 o'clock in the morning, I've not watched a movie yet today, I'm just gonna watch a comedy special. It's an hour long, and
Like, give me an example of a comedy special that you've watched.
I've watched the Brian Regan ones that are on Netflix.
I haven't seen those.
Like Nunchucks and something or other, and some other ones. Like even Bo Burnham's or other comedy specials are only like an hour. Make Happy and
Those are so good, though.
And was it Just What? I think it's called Just What.
What? Yeah. Okay.
I was gonna say what, but it's words, not what.
Hey, Nick, have you seen Patrice Williams' Elephant in the Room?
I don't remember, unfortunately.
So good. Sorry.
That's where we got the name of the show.
Yeah.
We'd sit around and be like, "Hey, have you seen this movie?"
Yep.
So this time you asked me.
Yeah, so I screwed up. Like I said, I blanked. If you see that I have somewhat blank expression in the last episode, it's because the entire time that we were talking, I'm like, think of a movie, dumbass, before the end of the video. Just think of something. Just get anything out there. And I couldn't do it. So, Nick,
Yes,
have you seen The Road to Perdition?
I have now.
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 Yes.
Previously, that's one I had always heard about, was pretty good, and have just kind of missed for whatever reason or another. It's Tom Hanks. Like, Tom Hanks movies are good.
You can't really go wrong.
I don't know if I could name a Tom Hanks movie that I just don't like.
I can.
What movie is it?
I'm not big on big.
Okay. I don't dislike it.
I mean, back in the day when I'd watched Big, I thought it was pretty good. Mm-hmm. And then it came on TV the other day, and I was like, what did I see in this movie? It's kind of boring to me.
I watched it this year for like the first time in years, and I'm like, it's still okay.
It's just another Freaky Friday movie, you know.
Sure.
Person, except I guess
young,
the trade-off.
Young kid wants to be a grown up and learn his lesson.
Yeah.
Goes back home and.
They've done it so many times in so many different movies.
I mean, it's a cliche or whatever you want to call it. It's a movie trope.
Yeah. Well, back in the day, it was like old guy would go in young guy's body, young guy would go in old guy's body.
This one is just he becomes old.
Right. Yeah. Or the movie 13 Going on 30, where she was 13 years old and then she became 30 years old.
I've not actually seen that one. Have you seen Joe versus the Volcano? That's another Tom Hanks movie.
I have.
That's real. I really like that one.
I wasn't crazy about that one, but I haven't seen that movie since it's been made.
I watched it for the first time this year, and I enjoy that one. It's silly, but I kind of enjoy it.
Was Tom Hanks in Club Paradise?
I don't know that movie.
I think that might be Robin Williams, but I'm not sure.
I don't even know what that movie is.
Well, anyways.
So,
Yeah.
Bad Tom Hanks movie? Big question mark?
Yeah. Well, there was another one that I watched just recently. I can't remember his name in the movie, but it was one that came out on Apple TV. And it was okay.
Okay.
At best. but I can't remember the name of it right now. But at the time of watching this, the Tom Hanks movie, post-apocalyptic future, that movie is the one that came out. I watched it and it was okay, but that's a video for another time. Yeah. Anyways,
so Tom Hanks movies that, I mean, he tends to do okay. So I knew going into Road to Perdition I was probably going to be okay with it, but I also knew going into it that it's a gangster movie, and I don't like gangster movies. Okay. That's why I like Scorsese movies and stuff like that. I've pretty much just skipped out on because I don't really like things that glorify realistic crime, I guess. Like if we're watching a supervillain movie and the dude's flying around shooting laser beams and making frost beams to freeze the earth, that's not really anything that bugs me per se. But it's where it's like I'm gonna go murder people, and it's just like a glorifying like wasn't gangster life so friggin' cool? I'm like, no, not really. It's like remember Speakeasies? It's like no.
See, I really like some of my favorite movies. I didn't watch Casino or Goodfellas back in the day when they first came out because I guess when those movies came out, I was kind of in my heavy drug phase. Okay. So I didn't watch a lot of movies in my 20s, and I'm pretty sure that's when the movies came out.
20-pound drugs? It's real heavy drugs.
Yeah. When I do it, I do it up. Surprised I'm still here. But
me too.
One of my favorite movies back in the day was like.
You're old.
Fucked up. Yeah, I think they can see that.
Yeah.
But one of my favorite movies back in the day, it was my brother's favorite movie, so every time it was on, I had to watch it, was Scarface. Al Pacino. Okay. Love that movie. But that was like a straight up gangster movie. But Road to Perdition is one of my favorites with Tom Hanks in it. I thought that it was a different take of having a father and son storyline in a gangster movie. And we're trying to stay as non-spoilery as possible because I realize that in some of the past ones we get into the spoilers like immediately.
So I think there is kind of like I think we talked about it with maybe Man of La Mancha. I don't remember exactly when. But like there's a certain roll around date when spoilers become like, well, now this movie is so old that people might want to, like younger folk might want to go back and watch it because this movie is 19 going on 20 years old. Maybe you've never seen this movie. And maybe you want to track it down and watch it.
I feel like... So, give me your definition of when you think things are out of spoiler territory.
It's real hard for me because we've kind of picked up over the course of this. Like, I've never seen Casino. I've never seen Goodfellas. I've never seen Scarface. Like, if you tell me... And knowing what some movies are, they take away my enjoyment out of them so much.
Okay.
Because knowing and like... Some people say it's all about the journey, not about the end destination. It's about the destination. If the destination's bad, like we're going to a place where I'm going to shoot you in the face, but we're going to go to an amusement park first. I'm not going to have fun at that amusement park, knowing at the end of it it's a shot to the face.
Okay, all right, I can definitely see the analogy there.
So bad endings, or just like knowing the ending to movies, can take away my enjoyment about the whole process. And sometimes that just happens if I guess the end of a movie and it ends up just following that. I mean, I guess that's like, well, we foreshadowed it, but I'm like,
Amber's ruined that for me. Like, I used to just be able to sit in a movie and just go
and zone it out. Now you're thinking,
and then you get to the end and you're like, and then Amber's done it so many times where she's like, we'll be in the first 20 minutes of the movie, she's like, I know how this is going to end.
He did it.
Well, she would say at the beginning, oh, this is going to happen. I'm like, just watch the damn movie, and then it happens at the end of the movie. I'm like, would you shut the fuck up, please? You are ruining movies for me. And then finally it got to the point where like I'm watching a movie and I'm like, oh, okay. And she's like, what? And I was like, I think I figured it out. She's like, yeah, I figured it out 10 minutes ago. I was like, okay. So she's given me this power, and I hate it. And I know that in one of the other videos we talked about give me any superhero power, and I'd just be like, I could levitate 10 feet off the floor, and I'd just be like so happy about it. Well, this is a superhero. I'm starting to understand.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah, I'm starting to understand with some powers, it's just, you just don't like it, because now I can predict a lot of the endings of stuff, and I don't like it.
I wonder if it's just you see so many movies at a certain point in time, they follow... It's like cyclical or whatever. Like all the movies tend to roll back in on each other, which again is not necessarily the question. It's how long our spoilers are okay. And the grand answer is, to me, never. But that's not realistic. So I like before I talk about anything with anybody to be like, hey, have you guys seen whatever, like the new episode of show that came out before we get into talking about it. Sometimes it's a new episode, but like sometimes it's something old. Be like, oh no, and generally it's like, is it something that you're going to watch? And like, nah, I'm not really interested in it. And then it's time to go spoiler to try to sell them.
You mind if I sell you this car then?
And then I like to get permission to spoil a movie before I spoil.
Give them a hook. And yeah.
And then in talking about the movie, kind of see if like, oh, actually that sounds pretty good, and then maybe get them to go back and watch it.
So my definition of when it's okay. So if it's in the theater, not fucking cool.
Yeah.
If it's on video, then I imagine there's a limited amount that you can talk about because, not everyone has the time to get out and like see a movie.
Yes.
So it's still not cool, but like if you run into stuff on the internet, it's kind of like, you've had your time. It had its 3-4 months in the theater. Now it's on video, so it's more widely distributed, which means that
I would think that's when the second spoiler window kind of comes into play. Give it a couple weeks once it's been released to streaming nowadays. But
yeah, well, I mean, like if it's in theaters and people are like, "Oh man, the part where he caught the rake to the groin," you're like, "Fuck, I haven't seen that movie," and you're like, "Oh Jesus, I'm sorry," but like once it's out on video and it gets like, he caught the rake to the groin," you're like, I've actually like saw some of that online, or like like that's. The more people know about it, the harder it's going to be to keep the lid on it, kind of a thing. That's why I don't believe in modern day conspiracies. When you're pulling so many people into the plan, and yet nobody has any evidence of things happening. It's just you tell 3 people a fucking secret, and like it's gonna get out.
Yeah, because
people can't hold on to shit like that. Love that old saying. It was a secret between 2 people can only be held if one of them are dead. But anyways, movie theater. Not fucking cool.
Yeah.
Video, a little bit more acceptable, but still, be respectful. And if it's like heavily edited on TBS or like one of the networks, then yeah, at that point, like all gloves are off. But like as the years go by, I think you can't like people nowadays where it's like that's a spoiler. But I really feel like everyone knows that at this point.
Which one? I say that
Darth Vader is Luke's father. It's like
that's one of those things that there are some bits of movies that have just entered pop culture,
right?
And that if you've never seen those movies, now at that point in time, going back and watching them is kind of silly. Like there's so many people that knew that like Luke, I am your father, which isn't the real quote anyway.
Right.
But
no, I am your father.
Yeah, the Luke, I am your father is from is it like Tommy Boy where he says that to a fan.
Right. And then that was the Mandela effect, what makes everyone think that.
But I think those things enter into popular culture, and then people watch the movie for the first time, and then that's nondescript soda. I love cola product. So those things enter like pop culture and just kind of ruin the experience for you a little bit. So I mean, I ended up having Sixth Sense spoiled for me. I mean, I guess it was coming out to videotape at that point in time, or DVD. I don't remember what year that was. If we were on videotape still, or if it was moved to DVD. But that movie's not very fun when you know the ending.
Yeah, but like it's got one of those. It's got that epic turn where like people have to talk about it, and I get it. You see something that's cool, you want to talk about it, but like just keep in mind that when something's new, not a lot of people have experienced it. The older something gets, the more distributed it gets. So maybe it's a little more acceptable to talk about it. But we're not preaching to you about spoilers. Y'all already fucking know this.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about the movie.
Yeah, we're going to get to a point where we're going to start talking about Road to Perdition, but we're going to at least have the grace to say,
here's your out.
Yeah, stop it now. Go see the movie, and then come back and watch the rest of it.
Which is why I like, at the end of these, I like to give the preview so that you've got a week to see if you can track it down. Some of them are going to be harder to track down. I don't know how easy it is to track down Man of La Mancha.
A lot of
some of my choice for this week might be hard to track down.
Yeah, I feel like Man of La Mancha is where you go into like the Tractor Supply store, and it's just like sitting there in like one of those $2 DVD cases.
I think it was one that because when we were looking for how was I going to get you to watch it, because I have the DVD, but we always look for streaming first, just to be like, well then it's much easier to watch it if you can just stream it. Because I can watch it on my iPad in my room or whatever.
Right.
I think it was on Amazon, but you had to like pay for it. I'm like, well, I'll just bring the DVD next time. And that's kind of what we do: is pass back DVDs or.
I feel like with the library that I have back here that we got something to watch like for quite some time. And then like most of the movies that you've been bringing up, you either have the DVD or I can usually find it somewhere online to watch very legally. But so anyways, Road to Perdition.
Yes.
19 going on 20 years old.
Yes.
So like it's, in my opinion, should super be out of spoiler territory. But I also know that this is a movie that
it might get some resurgence maybe.
I think if you know the movie, you know the movie.
You've probably seen it. Yeah, maybe.
But like that's like The Road to Perdition is not one of those titles that catches you like Star Wars or The Sixth Sense.
Yeah.
Like it's you have no idea what the movie's about other than, just the words in the title.
Yeah. And even then I don't know Perdition. I'm not like that's not part of my upbringing or anything like that.
No.
So it's like I feel like I've heard that movie before and I like Googled the definition. I'm like, oh, eternal damnation, essentially. So the road to eternal damnation. So I'm like, I know how this movie's gonna go.
Wait, did you look that up before you watched the movie? Oh, after?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. So,
well,
anyways.
I mean, presumably it's like the road to ruin. You're like, what does ruin mean? I mean, it said in the title. I mean, it's kind of when you bought the ticket for like Star Wars in the first scene they're fighting in space. You're like, why are they in space fighting this war?
What is going on?
What's with these Star Wars?
I thought it was going to be us fighting suns and other planets. No. So, Road to Perdition.
Yes.
Almost 20 years old. You had Paul Newman, Tom Hanks, Daniel Craig,
Yep.
Jude Law.
Yep.
So, like, if any of those names are tickling the sack right now,
yep.
then you want to turn this off, like, right now and go watch them. Cause
if you're a fan of Superman and Lois, the kid in this movie grows up to play Superman.
Is that Dean Cain?
No. Little Michael Jr. Have you seen Superman and Lois? The one that's out on like HBO Max, and I think it's out on CW or something like that.
Which one was the one with Dean Cain and Terry Hatcher?
Lois and Clark. This one is called Superman and Lois. They're married. They have got 2 kids, and they move back to Kansas. And that's a different Superman show, but that Superman, I don't remember his Taylor or something or other, is Michael Jr. in this movie.
Okay.
So for you to go back and be like, because I was watching this movie, I saw his face, and I'm like, his face looks familiar.
Right.
And then I kind of like, so I looked him up on IMDb and be like, okay, so it's the second picture.
Tyler.
Yeah.
Tyler Hoechlin?
Okay.
Tyler Hoechlin.
So I didn't know his name. I recognized his face, like from when he was like 12 years old or whatever. I'm like that. Hoechlin?
He's a good-looking lad.
Yes. Well, it looks like blown out.
Oh shit.
It's still blown out. Still blown out. Still blown out. Now they can see our ring light.
To be fair, if anybody ever wears glasses in any of these movies, you could see.
Yeah.
You have the internet. Go look up a picture.
So
good luck spelling the last name.
So I saw his face. And I'm like, oh, he looks familiar. And I thought I recognized him. Maybe it was a kid in another movie, and that's why I recognized him. But no, it's because it was Superman. And I've only seen a couple episodes of the show. It's not necessarily my thing, but still, I mean, like, oh, okay, this kid grew up to be Superman. Way to go.
I just had no clue.
Yeah.
But then again, when I was watching this movie back in the day and watching Daniel Craig, I'd seen him in one other movie at that point. I believe it was Layer Cake, which I thought he was still somewhat of an unremarkable actor at that point. But have you ever seen Layer Cake?
I've never even heard of it. Now these conversations are awful.
Yeah. But, it's okay. Anyways. Yeah, so I've never seen that iteration of, like, I'm an old Dean Cain, Terry Hatcher guy. That was the last one I saw. I've never seen Smallville, although I've heard.
I've never seen Smallville either.
Yeah, I've heard that it's pretty good, but,
It's another one of those ones where go back to the old conversation of this thing is 25 seasons. Which season? That's like too long. I know it's older at this point in time. I'd have to go back and watch all of it. And start from the beginning, watch everything.
Who has the time? Maybe you. Go back and watch these and let us know what you think.
You tell us if Smallville's any good.
Give us a review and we'll review your review. But anyways, so I think we beat around the bush enough. I'll go ahead and ask you. What did you think?
So on a scale of 0 to 10, with 5 being like nice and average, I think it's 6. It's like it's a little better than average.
Okay. I did not expect you to say that.
Well, it was edging on a 5 and a 6 for me. Because I don't think I'll watch this movie again.
Uh-huh.
And that's usually where I put things at around 5.
Did anything like surprise you about the movie, or was it just kind of like?
Not really.
No.
I'm like, so spoilers.
Yeah. So we're just gonna go. Well, hold on.
What's your rating?
So I watched this movie just simply because I was in a Blockbuster video. Yeah, that long ago, and someone was like, "Road to Perdition is a great movie," and I heard the title and was like, "Okay, whatever."
Yeah.
It's not exactly a title that really grabs you. But I was like, screw it. One night, it was like buy one, get one free night or something like that, or buy two, get one free night at Blockbuster, and I didn't have jack shit to do the next day except chill. So I rented it. I cannot tell you what the other movies I watched that night was, but I remember the first time I watched this movie, I was stunned because it just came out of nowhere. If I was to give this movie a rating of 0 to 10, and for some reason we keep feeling the need to say 5 being right in the middle, I would easily give this movie an 8. I thought it was a different take on a gangster story. It's a guy who did bad, got screwed over hard by his boss, and then basically just decided he wanted to give it back. But like you've seen that before. But the twist this time is that he took his kid along with him, and was trying to show him, you don't want to basically do the shit I did. He didn't really have a choice because, of circumstances. I don't want to ruin everything because some of you you probably got up to take a piss while we were like, spoilers, but we'll say it again, spoilers.
Yeah, spoilers. Now we're going to talk about the movie.
Yeah. Now, I haven't watched The Road to Perdition in a very long time. I know that usually when I'm like, hey, Nick, have you seen? Then we both go back and watch the movie again. It's a movie that I've seen easily 15 to 16 times. Like, I own the DVD. I love the movie so much, especially after I found out that the movie was based off a graphic novel or like a comic book back in the day.
How many times have you read the comic book?
So I read they're like books that come in like it's almost like smaller graphic novel formats, and I went out and found them at the Green Dragon.
Smaller as in
like they're graphic. So your standard graphic novel is about that.
So
big.
They're like omnibus size. Or
yeah, they're like that big.
Okay.
Now I don't know if this was the original sizes of them or if it was just the ones that I had read, but like I went to the Green Dragon, and that's what they were able to produce for me. I've read the comic. Maybe just one time through originally, but it says something when you watch the film version of something and you're like, I've got to go read the book, and then you go back and read the book because this is one of those movies where it's just I think Tom Hanks is at the top of his game. He's magnificent in it, but then again, you can almost say that with every single movie that Tom Hanks is in because the man is he's a national treasure. But
hey, national treasure.
He's not in that.
No. I remember asking if you'd seen National Treasure and you hadn't. So that one's coming up. Let me look into the future and watch Lance watching National Treasure.
It'll probably happen in 2021 at this point, but
yeah.
So
Tom Hanks is a National Treasure.
I really don't want to watch that movie.
Yeah, you do. I'll come over, we'll watch it together, and we'll have a good time.
Always be caging.
He is like of Nick Cage being Nick Cage. That is the least Nick Cage you could ask for.
Oh, I just thought of another Tom Hanks movie I didn't like.
What's that?
The one where he was.
Is it Terminal?
No, I actually like that movie because he's doing a voice the entire time, and it's kind of funny. But the one where he is. See, I don't want to spoil it, but it's the one where he's like looking into. Is it the Da Vinci Code? Mm-hmm. See, I didn't like those movies.
Oh, I loved them. I thought they're great. Da Vinci Code and Angels and Demons, and I found out that there's a third one, but I haven't seen that one yet. Inferno.
The second one, did it have the guy that was whipping himself?
Yeah, that was the first one. Second one had Ewan McGregor. Obi-Wan.
It didn't have the guy Silas that was running around. He was like beating himself with reeds. That was the first one?
Yeah, that was the first one. And that's Vision.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think that was Paul Bettany.
Yeah, and his leader saint or his leader priest or whatever was Dr. Octopus.
Alfred Molina?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
a good movie. I like those movies. And then God, so many Marvel movies have intergrained, or like, they've always been part of my life just because I used to read comic books.
Oh, God.
Because
Yes.
then you have Magneto in that movie as well.
Ian McKellen.
Mhm.
He's in that movie?
Yeah.
That's right. He's the contact that they go.
Yeah,
okay.
it's a good movie.
See,
Like
I wasn't crazy about him just because I don't like the movies where, like, I don't want to predict where you're going, but I also don't want you to give me some kind of crazy super science, like quantum fucking theory. How do they explain it in, like, Star Trek? They always hit the quantum, or there's a certain button that they always push in Star Trek. I love Star Trek, and for some reason I'm blanking right now, but they always get into some kind of super science phrasing that's just like, okay, just go with it, and so we can explain it. And I felt like they did that a lot in that movie, where it was like, we have this clue, and then all of a sudden he's like, oh, I remember this thing where you invert this, and you stand on one hand and do like a fucking Hadouken, and it'll open the store. But who knows? If I watch it again, maybe I'll be more impressed than I was the first time through. But I also just thought it was weird that it also had like 5-minute scenes of this dude just beating the shit out of himself. Like just
yes, self-flagellation.
Self-flagellation, yeah. But anyways, I thought the movie was fantastic. I loved the journey from beginning to end. I did not see the ending coming. I loved Jude Law in the movie. I thought he was fantastic. I thought he was a little over the top, but I still thought he was fantastic.
You didn't see the ending coming, huh?
So when he's at the beach house and he's kind of watching young Mike out in the yard, and then that sudden pop, like that actually took me by surprise, because you thought they did such a good job of shaking this guy, and then he just like I said, it's been a long time since I've seen it.
Okay, well, I was watching this one, and I'm like, oh, okay, Tom Hanks is going to die at the end of this movie, and I thought Michael Jr. was going to kill the person that killed. So the only thing I got wrong was that Mike killed Jude Law, whatever his character's name was, before
he died.
Before he had a chance for his son to kill him, essentially.
Yeah, but
so
I'm
like, oh, okay, he actually saved his son, as opposed to his son going down the same. I thought it was just going to be cyclical. I thought his son was going to go down the same route.
I guess that was saving him from the road to hell.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was. I didn't see that coming initially, and then like you. Like, when it happened, I was like, okay, then young Mike's going to do this, then he's going to go on a revenge road, too.
Oh, I thought that, like, midway through the movie, and I'm kind of like, well, he's just going to die at the end of this movie.
Yeah. But I liked also that they had kind of a Robin Hood-esque theme, where it was like, we don't want any of these people's money. We want Capone's money.
Yeah, we want the gangsters' money.
Yeah, and I liked how Mike was smart enough, he knew the inner workings of the organization to, like, really kind of ferret out the people that he really needed, because he wanted revenge on one particular person who was a made man and was completely guarded.
So, speaking of Capone's money, that scene where he goes to the bank, that bank manager is the mayor from Buffy. I don't remember the guy's name.
The really nice guy?
It was like he walked in and he pointed the gun at me. He's like, "Give me Capone's money," and then he pulled it out and he's like, "Here you go. You're gonna forget it," and he gave him a brick of money. That was the mayor. I'm like, "Oh, it's the mayor."
From Buffy?
He was in like a minute.
He was like the super friendly guy who turned into a snake at the end of it?
Yeah.
I've already said spoilers at this point, so if you're like, holy shit, Snake, Buffy, man. But then again, we're talking about Road to Perdition. Fuck, I just messed up Buffy for somebody. But
so he's the super friendly mayor in season 3 of Buffy.
I would not have remembered that. That's pretty cool.
Well, I've seen Buffy like 5 times maybe.
I've seen Buffy 1 time all the way through.
And then the episodes that Amber happens to randomly watch or whatever.
Yes, and then we play a lot of the board game. So he comes up as the bad guy because for some reason Legendary won't make an expansion set for the Buffy game, even though, in my opinion, it's one of the best Legendary sets. So we really need to do a game review.
Board games. See right up there? There's Legendary, and then if you look further over there, there's Legendary Buffy. If I can angle my hand. There we go. Legendary Buffy. So the Legendary, if you play board games, Legendary's a fun board game.
Really good game. Still, this isn't a board game review.
Oh, but we're in front of board games.
Yeah, true. So, tell me some of the stuff that you liked about the movie.
What did I like about the movie? I mean, the acting. I like Tom Hanks. I kind of liked how he started out kind of cold towards his son, and like eventually he kind of, I don't know if he's necessarily warmed to him until eventually he was driving away and he's like, "Dude, when I tell you to duck, like duck." And it's like, I don't, like, it's not your fault that, the wife and your brother died. And I kind of it's like I like that Tom Hanks never blamed his son for it, because it's like no, it's the guy I'm trying to kill is the guy I'm blaming for it. Like, duh.
Right.
Like, him kind of explaining it to the son, I'm like, that's kind of nice.
Yeah. And that's, but I mean, if that's even kind of a trope in a way, where you have like the people who were uneasy around each other, they start warming up to each other, and then eventually there's that turn where it's like, we're not friends, you know, and then at the end of it, then they get real close again or whatever. So they like definitely did that in the movie, but I was okay with it because it was in a father-son thing.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for a father-son story.
Yeah.
So.
And like him teaching him to drive so that they can start doing bank hits was kind of fun.
Yeah.
I kind of like the little bank montage or whatever.
And see, you reminded me of something else that I had forgotten about. Stanley Tucci is also in this movie. Mm-hmm. See, I had completely forgotten about that. Mm-hmm. That would have surprised me going back to watch it.
When he went to Chicago to like, hey, this guy, like, killed my wife and son. Mm-hmm. Can I come work for you? But in return, let me kill his son. And it's like, yeah, I'm not gonna do that. Whereas later in the movie, what I've kind of found amusing is like after he killed the guy, he called up Stanley Tucci and was essentially like, yeah, I'm gonna come there and kill the son now. And he's like, yep. So he just kind of walked in and like, they just like, here's the elevator for you. And they walked up to his hotel room and it's like, the door's right here. Then he just walked in and just kind of unceremoniously like killed Daniel Craig and then just kind of moved on.
I believe at that point though he had fucked up enough to where everyone was just like, it'd be better if he was out of the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but like, that completely surprised me because I initially watched the movie and I was kind of like, hey, it's that guy in Layer Cake, which is an interesting movie. And then he became 007, and then it was like even more fun to see him as a complete and utter fuck up in those movies.
Yeah,
after playing 007.
Yeah, it's like because Daniel Craig is like doing an American accent in this movie. This is the first time you ever saw him. You wouldn't think he was British.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that.
Yeah, he I mean, everyone did good. Like the acting was good in this movie.
It's just this wasn't a storyline that.
I don't care about gangster movies.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm surprised you gave it a 6.
Well, I think that this being, I mean, the gangster movie stuff is part of it, but it's more about like the travel between the father and the son and being chased by like an assassin. And
so you're saying you liked the journey before you got to the destination?
No, not really. Because I mean, the ending I saw coming, which kind of spoiled it a little bit.
Yeah, but I bet you didn't see the ending where basically he had a whole new family at the end of it.
So I didn't expect that. I thought he was going to start the cycle of violence over again.
But he learned something. And
yeah, I was expecting the dour ending, not the more uplifting ending.
Honestly, if the movie would have been more popular than it was, they probably would have made a Road to Perdition Part 2. Because I believe there's more stuff out there to like
more comic.
Go off of. But I don't remember because it's been a very, very long time since I've actually read any of that.
So I knew it was a comic movie in that sometimes on YouTube you'll watch like the top 10 movies you didn't know were comic movies and they're like Road to Perdition #1 and or whatever. So I knew it was a comic movie going in. And I mean that necessarily changes anything. It's just that they're essentially working from source material.
Right. And but it was just one of those ones where, like, there's another movie that I had not seen, which was Boondock Saints.
Okay.
So that was a movie that I remember Joe and I were sitting around one day, and he was like, remember Boondock Saints? And I was like, what? And he's like, Boondock Saints. And I was like, no, I've never seen that. He's like, oh my God, dude, you have to watch this fucking movie. And I was like, okay. In my mind, Boondock Saints was a movie that was like from the 50s. Something that, your dad's watched. And I was like, God, I watched enough spaghetti westerns and stuff like that with my dad growing up where it was just kind of like, I'm kind of done with that. Then when I went back and actually watched the movie, I was like, holy shit, why did it take me so long to watch this fucking flick? Now it's one of those ones I can watch over and over and over again.
I still think I've only seen it like once. Because that was one that my brother loved. So, one day I sat down and watched it with him.
Like Norman Reedus, Billy Connolly, the guy who's
Willem Dafoe.
Yeah, the guy who's his brother that I can never remember the name of, but I really enjoyed him. The other Boondock Saint.
I didn't even remember Norman.
I think his name is not Norman Reedus. They are so good in that movie, but William Dafoe in that movie is
Willem, not William.
Willem Dafoe.
Not William.
Willem. He's so fucking good. There was a firefight. Oh, he's so over the top. Like he's the only other actor I believe that could like be in contention with Nick Cage and like the school of overacting. Maybe Jim Carrey's also in there, but like he was so over the top, but he's still so fucking good in that movie.
No one's beating Nick Cage.
I don't know.
Do I need to pull up the scene from Ghost Rider where he's turning into the Ghost Rider for the first time? Yeah, and he's a chop his teeth.
He has the same face he used in Face Off. So it's the same picture I pull up every single time at our D&D table when I'm like, here's my character portrait. Yeah, I still think it's funny.
And the joke is so old at this point.
Sometimes some of the old jokes are the best ones.
You keep thinking that.
That's my story and I'm sticking to it. So
be like, hey guys, I made a new character picture of Nick Cage. It's like, oh no, Lance, we didn't see that coming. Well, it's when you actually show a picture of a character. It's like, oh wow, he got us.
I switch it up every now and then. I'd show you a different picture of Nick Cage. I showed you the Castor Troy of him at one point, I'm pretty sure. But it got me one of my favorite Christmas gifts ever. Nick got me a picture of Nicolas Cage as an admiral in an old admiral. It's like a pillow with like Nick Cage's face, and he's like wearing an admiral hat and shit. It was great. It was probably one of the funniest, maybe not the best, but definitely one of the funniest Christmas presents I ever got because I did not see that one coming. But so Road to Perdition, would you suggest it to somebody else? Let me change that. Road to Perdition, would you suggest that to strangers on YouTube?
I mean, I guess it depends. Like, do you like gangster movies? I mean,
check.
Maybe I'll like it. Do you like Tom Hanks?
Check.
Do you like? It's a Daniel Craig movie. I mean, he's not.
He's not really that much in the movie.
He's not a big star in the movie. It's like, do you like father-son stories?
Check.
So I like Tom Hanks. I'm not super big on father-son stories. I don't like gangster movies. Maybe it's a 5 to me. The more I think about
you cannot change your rating. You've already set a 6.
I really don't think I'm going to watch this movie again. I watched it and I'm like, okay, it was fine.
So maybe we need to redefine our scale. Like maybe there needs to be some kind of things we already haven't. Like, will this be a movie that I'll watch again? If it's no, then it's got to be at least 5 and under, and if it's yes, then it's got to be like 6 and over.
That's what I'm thinking. Cause like a 6, if it was a 6, I think I would watch it again. But it's one that I'm not. Maybe in 20 years.
It's like a one and done for you?
I think it's a one and done for me. I watched it. I didn't regret watching it. Okay. But I don't think it's what I'm going to go back and watch again. Yeah. Like as we've talked about it, Mike, I was sitting between 5 and 6. I'm like, well, maybe it's a 6. Mm-hmm. And as we're talking about it, I'm like, it's not really. When you ask me like that, what did you like in this movie? Oh, I like Tom Hanks. Dramatic phone.
Snake.
So. Like, you asked me what I liked about it. I'm like, Tom Hanks, and that's kind of it.
That's it?
And there's not really a whole lot that, like, super stood out to me. I mean, it's fine. I watched it, and I enjoyed watching it. What to other people would be like, should I watch Road to Perdition? I'm like, if you got the time. There's other stuff to watch.
So maybe that's what we'll also do at the end of it, is that we'll have to actually have, like, a short form of, like, if you like these things.
Yeah, I think if you're predisposed to gangster movies and father and son films and Tom Hanks movies, I mean, it's probably more than a 5 to you. And I check out like one of those 3 boxes at least.
I would say that if you like gangster movies, check. Mm-hmm. Father and son story, check. The movie does have some interesting twists that I thought, like, it's got a lot of really like the scene in the rain where he tracks down the criminal boss, when he tracks down Paul Newman. Like, I thought that was beautifully shot. But I'm not gonna like start like geeking out on like film terms and stuff like that, because
I'm not a film major.
Neither am I. I never went to school for it, so I'd feel like a total and complete fraud, like sitting there saying the high shot to make them feel like you're still a small person. It's
dark outside. Gonna go boom.
Yeah. But I thought it was a very pretty movie. It was one of those ones where I guess it might have a special place in my heart, because it's one of those ones that come out of nowhere. You know, to me, you think it's one thing, you think that it's going to be something that's like, okay, well, other people like it, so I'll watch it, and maybe kind of like where you are now with the movie. You know, you watched it and you're like,
yeah, it was okay.
Yeah, but like for me, I was like way down low, and then I watched it and was like, holy shit, that was a really good flick.
Oh, yeah.
So
expectations make the movie.
Yeah, so if you like gangster flicks,
which might make this series bad, because you're like, man, I love this movie, and you hand it to me, and then I watch it, I'm like, uh-oh. And then I'm like, Josie and the Pussycats, one of my favorite comedies. And then you're watching, like, it's fine.
That's actually a really good consideration. So from now on, we're not going to say if we liked it or if we hated it. So I'm going to have to throw you a few stinkers to knock you off kilter.
Well, we've been so, like, when we hand each other a movie, we tend not to speak too much of the movie. But I mean, it's early on in it. Because I think you knew that I like Josie and the Pussycats from before. Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe Sadako and versus Kayako was a bit of a curveball because I had really only seen it the week before. So you were kind of going into that one fresh, and you liked that movie.
Yeah. Well, I mean...
with no expectations.
Yeah.
Well, we sat down and watched it together.
Well, no, I had expectations. It was her versus her. So it was like, are they fighting each other or are they having like a kill-off?
Yeah.
You know?
And
it was both.
Yeah.
So...
But I think a lot of the other movies like Fright... But again, you said Fright Night was one of your favorite movies I watched, and I really liked Fright Night.
Well, I did throw a qualifier in there. I said that the original Fright Night was one I liked, but the remake was just okay.
I've never seen the remake, obviously.
I'm never going to ask you to watch it. Although, if we're doing stinker movies now, just to like... But maybe that's what we need to do from now on. Like, I won't tell you if I liked it or hated it, but honestly, if I hand you a DVD out of my collection of it, most likely it was a movie I liked.
You bought it on DVD, but they're like... So back in the day, I would just go to Best Buy and just look at the movies and be like, because so I would try. Me and my brother would sit down and watch just like movies, and then if they're bad movies, we have fun because we riff on them. If they're good movies, we enjoy them because they're good movies. The worst type of movies were the ones that were just boring. There was not enough content to either make fun of or just to enjoy for yourselves.
Yeah, anything where you're watching the clock, like this should be about time to hit the old dusty trail. Like,
and there's a few times like if I'm watching a movie, I'm like, wonder how much of this movie's left. Sometimes I'm like, in the very rare occasion, I'm like, how are they going to wrap this up? And it feels like there's only 15 minutes left. What are we going to like? And you're kind of like surprised that there's like, man, this movie's almost over. Man, I was hoping there's more. But usually it's kind of like, how long is there? Oh, I'm halfway through. All right. And there was kind of like in this one, I was like, are we getting near the end of this at some point in time? I mean, he's going to die. I know it. Hurry up.
Yeah. Well, okay. All valid points. I will let you move your rating back to a 5.
Well, not much you can do about that.
Well, yeah. I mean, I feel like I
didn't break out the stone tablet. And
I was so stoked when you said a 6 because I was expecting you to like come in with a hard 4 or 5. And then you did exactly what I expected near the end of the video. Sorry, I didn't mean to hit the table.
Well, near the beginning, I said, I'm edging between 5 and 6.
Naturally, I heard 6.
Yeah, I know. And as we talked about it, I'm like, you know what, 5. Because it's okay.
Okay, so from now on, Have You Seen is going to... I'm going to throw some stinkeroos at you now. Just so knock you off.
I'm going to love them.
I mean,
I'm going to love every single one of them.
You're going to be like, Lance is going to really like this. Well, it seems like we do have like a diametric in movie tastes.
And say we don't like sometimes our tastes align, sometimes they don't. Like I mean, at this point in time, Dune is up and out. Like we had opposite sides on Dune, but a lot of the times, like Night Teeth, we were like right
somewhat simpatico.
I think we both gave it like the same rating.
Well, then maybe that's what we need to start doing in the future as well.
We should start writing these down.
Yeah. So
maybe make it a public thing on like so people can go back and.
Well, maybe not a public thing, but if anything, we can like write it down on a piece of paper and be like, okay, let's go ahead and reveal our ratings, and we could just both show at the same time.
It's not going to show up on camera.
Huh?
Like look how blown out my hand is. If we hold up my arm is white and it's like if we hold up a white piece of paper, it's going to be a.
You know why that is, though, right?
Because I'm allergic to the sun.
It's because I see dead people.
Oh yes, I'm a ghost. I'm a spooky ghost. I've been the plot twist. I've been dead the whole time. Spoiler alert.
No, sorry. But yeah, I think we're going to start trying to fine tune this a little bit better for you. But yeah,
I like what we got on.
I just want to make sure that we're not like you giving your rating of something or me giving my rating of something before you say what it is. I don't want my thoughts influencing what your rating is.
It's like when we started doing these, we were doing ratings near the end, but also now we're trying to be a bit more concerned with spoilers, as it were. So we're trying to give our upfront opinion. But if we're giving people a week, like at the end of this video, I'm gonna give you a movie, and then you guys have a week to watch that movie, and then the next time it comes up, going to be like, hey, we're going to talk about this movie, and then just talk about the movie.
Yeah, but that's awfully pompous of us to think there's enough people that are watching us on live viewings and being
Hey.
like, we have there's who knows, maybe 5 years from now, if we still like are putting these up there and the 3 people turn into 6 people, that we'll have one person who's going to watch them concurrently back to back because they're bored at work.
Yeah.
You know.
Hey, I put up a playlist.
Really?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, you can go watch, and I'm going to put them in order too, so that you could start at episode 1 and start working all the way through. Because these ones I want to flow nicely into each other, so that you can like at the end of one episode be like, oh, next time they're going to talk about this movie, maybe I should go watch it.
Yeah, and we're also going to do some small changes. I realized that us playing underneath the channel, Dungeons and Downtime Official.
Well, I changed that name too, but we need to have that discussion.
We'll round on that later.
Yeah,
we'll put a pin in that, and we'll come back later.
Yeah,
but
so it's okay. If we were to sit down and like have a collection of movies, it would be a movie I would maybe pick up like occasionally. To be like, I've got these 5 movies. Which one do you want? Well, I have to weigh my options and be like, okay, maybe we're for Perdition.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, I can't say well, I will say that I was surprised in the beginning, but after talking about it more, I'm not as surprised now. I talked you out of it.
It's just thinking about it. I think. Did you going into it? Did you know that I don't like gangster movies?
I had no idea.
Okay, like a lot of the classic gangster movies, I've just never seen, and like one of the ones I've tried to sit down and watch, which wasn't necessarily a great one anyway. It's Irishman, like the one that they put out on Netflix, or whatever.
I won't give any spoilers on that one, but I'll tell you what. If you did not like that movie, I did not blame you for not liking that movie. I think that movie was like 3.5 hours.
It was so long.
Yeah, I think it was ridiculous.
I remember watching it kind of late at night, and I was like, no, I'm still watching this movie. It's like, let's get through it.
Yeah, that movie's like if Casino met. I can't remember. There was that old gangster movie where like they just sit around and like talk about the old times, and it was like, get on with it.
That movie always threw me off with Pacino calling De Niro kid. I'm like, your anti-aging technology is not that good. There, movie.
Was that Heat?
No, in Irishman, because they tried to like de-age the older actors so that they could play the younger versions of themselves.
Got it.
And it took that like 80-year-old man and made him look 60.
And I think the only twist in that movie was they tried to make Joe Pesci like a normal guy.
Yeah,
because he's usually super angry ferret man in every other gang. Well, you can't agree with me because you haven't seen these movies, but like usually Joe Pesci's the little guy.
Yeah.
That everyone fucks with. That he's like he destroys.
Yeah, you
people.
think I'm some clown here to amuse you and all that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, you pick that stuff up in the zeitgeist of.
I'm funny how.
Of pop culture, and then just kind of seeing through osmosis, kind of like picking up that stuff, seeing a few gangster things, knowing that I don't like gangster movies, and that not necessarily for. It's like that is not to say you can't like gangster movies. They're just not for me.
No, I mean we're gonna. I think that's what makes this magic, though, is that we're not always gonna pick stuff that.
See, look, we're friends and we disagree about movies sometimes. Like internet, you can do it too.
He's wrong. Perdition's a fantastic movie, and me and you are no longer friends because you don't like what I like.
It's
no, and I agree with you. I think we need to have a lot more patience on each other's opinions. I can already see the comments fucking going crazy right now as I said that. But you know. I can read 4 comments because one of them is written by my wife. But anyways, you gave it a 5.
Yeah.
I gave it an 8. I'm sticking with the 8. I really, really like this movie.
And I think there's a lot of, I don't know, nowadays when people like stuff, they want to throw a 10 at it or they want to throw a 1 at it. And they, like, if you didn't like it a little bit, it's the worst movie you've ever seen. You got to tank that rating to own the whomevers. And if you were to sit down and, like, put a movie in front of me and be like, you're going to think this movie's a 5. Like, okay, I'll watch it. Because a 5 is a good enough movie. It's an average movie. There's stuff in it you're going to like. And maybe there's stuff in it that you're not going to like. Maybe the pacing's off for you. Maybe it just goes on a little long. Maybe you don't like a character or whatever reason you have to give it like an average movie. I mean, I'll watch average movies.
Yeah.
Especially with some of the, crap that people put out. Going into it knowing that a movie's going to be a 5 to you, well, I'd watch a 5.
Can you name a movie that you would give like a 0 or a 1 to right now?
I'd have to look it up because I don't remember the name of it. There was only one movie that I can think of where I'm like, I absolutely despise everything about this movie. and it would be a 0 for me. And I mean, I could.
I'm guessing that was Zoolander.
No, I don't think about Zoolander honestly.
So bad.
To the point where. So what I've been doing this year is tracking all of my movies watches, and
damn, that's a big ass list, dude.
That's January.
Okay.
So on January 31st of 2020, I watched Unfreedom, and I gave it my lowest rating. Which in my current rating, I'm doing 1 to 5. I need to switch to 0 to 10 because it gives me more numbers to play with.
So the movie you're talking about, the guy kidnaps the girl?
Yeah. It's awful. Unfreedom was just a movie on Netflix. I'm like, I'll give it a watch. I hated everything about that movie. It's a 0. I would never watch it again. I kind of regret telling people the name because then it gives any sort of publicity to that movie.
We can bleep it out. We can bleep it out.
I hated that movie.
I know you've been
despise that movie.
I know we haven't been like doing a lot of editing on anything in the past, but I've been playing with some software, so hopefully some of this will be getting a little bit of editing in the future.
It'd be so funny if we rewatch this and just the name of the movie is bleeped out.
Yeah, I watched beep.
And I hate that movie so much. I'm not even going to tell you the name of it, but that's the only movie I've hated. I absolutely hated. And since the list is up, like this year, I've spent 41.15 days watching movies. So like if you were to start time and click a stopwatch, 41 days of that has been me watching movies and episodes. I counted like new episodes and stuff. So I've watched 372 movies. Wow. So I've met my movie a day quota because I've watched more movies than there are days in the year. And I've watched 658 episodes of stuff.
All right.
Now, there are some months that got inflated because I watched Hoechlin on Netflix. And those were like 20-minute episodes. They just like fly by.
Right.
So that inflated June up to 9,000 hours of me watching stuff.
Wow. All right, dude, let's do this right now. Come on.
What?
We're going to Freaky Friday this shit. You're going to take over being a dad for me for a month.
Nope. Nope.
Shit. All right. Well,
so this is what you get when you have no kids. All the watch time to watch movies. But this is like it was a New Year's resolution, and that's like going to be the only one I've ever kept because I don't usually make them.
Well, New Year's resolutions are always start out with the best intentions, then you realize, oh yeah, this is the real world, and if you want to do something, you're just going to do it. If you have to make a resolution at the beginning of the year because it's something you want to do, it's something that you're not really prepared for. It's just something you say. Well,
I think I'd watched. So I guess Road to Perdition over. Now it's just kind of miscellaneous talky bits.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you could stop the video right here. We're no longer talking about Road to Perdition.
But if you want to see what we're going to talk about, when I ask that question, it's going to come out at the end of the stuff.
Yeah, it's going to have to be, just go to Patreon for $1. You can give us a digital high five, or we give you a digital high five for $5. You can probably watch this bit that I'm going to try and cut out, unless I don't follow through with the video stuff, and in that case, I'm just going to be like, fuck it, and drop it all.
Yeah.
But
raw content. It's like we're live streaming, but, delayed.
Yeah, no one gives a shit about what we think, but
yeah,
if you're bored and you just want to hear it.
Maybe there's a couple of people out there that give a shit what we think.
Well, first I'm going to show you a neat trick. This is going to be called stopping time. You ready? When my hands go together, time's going to stop, and then we're going to come back in different positions. So here we go. 3, 2, 1. I was really hoping you would pause the camera when I did that.
No.
Shit.
Okay. Yeah, that would. You get to edit that stuff. All right. Yeah. So, I was about 3 days into January. I'd noticed I'd watch a movie every day. And did I tell you why I decided to watch like a movie every day this year?
You did not.
Okay. So, in 2017, my brother passed away. And we would get together like maybe once a month, and just throughout the course of the month, we would accrue movies. Like on Netflix, we'd just be like, that looks like a bad movie, save. That looks like an interesting movie, save. And then I would he'd either come over to my place, I'd go over to his place, and we'd just have a movie day, watch like 4 or 5 movies. And so after he passed, I'm like, yeah, I kind of stopped watching movies, except for maybe the Marvel movies and just kind of the big shit that would kind of come out. And at the start of this year, I'm like, fuck it, I'm just going to start hammering out movies and kind of get back into movie watching. So I hope that at the end of this year, I'm just a bit more picking up movies that maybe I wouldn't necessarily watch, because I kind of stopped doing that.
Oh no! And doing this video series has basically kind of pushed you into watching some movies that you would watch.
I would.
So,
It's not quite the same because we would sit down and riff on movies, essentially, like the MST3K, sit down, and if we enjoyed a movie, we'd just sit and watch it. If we didn't, we would kind of riff on it the entire time.
Well,
get a little Caesar's pizza or whatever, and kind of make a day of it.
That's not going to happen like when we do the co-videos, because we're literally, the whole point of this is watching movies at home.
Yeah, co-videos is watch a movie at home, and if you're stuck at home for a year and a half for whatever reason.
But then when we did the Koyoko versus Sadako, did I say the names right?
Sadako versus Koyoko. You flipped the order, but yes.
I still had the...
You had the names right. Flip the order.
Anyways, when we did that, we actually watched that one together, and we had a great time, just riffing on the movie the entire time. So we need to do more of those.
I think we do.
So, but the co-video is just going to be us talking about raw movies that we had seen. We're also thinking about doing another video format where movies like Road to Perdition, I haven't watched that one in years. So I was basically talking from my mind's eye, and we were thinking about trying to figure out movies we haven't seen in like years and years. Try to give you basically our synopsis and what we remember, then go back and watch them again and see if it was something that was, see if we were wrong to like this movie, or if something, who we were then against who we are now watching the movies.
Yeah. See, well, that'd be how big of nostalgia did it play in our heads?
Yeah. Like if you'd watched like any of the 007 movies and you were like, oh, Daniel Craig's pretty good James Bond, and then you go back and you watch like Road to Perdition, you're like, holy fuck, James Bond is like getting the shit kicked out of him in this movie, and he's a total dick. I like doing that. I like going back and watching old movies and being
and seeing people in it, which I think we mentioned with our Night Teeth review. Like someday, one of those people is going to blow up. Someone that's their fan is going to go back and watch Night Teeth, and it's going to be more fun because it's got that person in it that they like.
That guy played Benny in Night Teeth. Oh my god, he's so good.
So I think going back and watching this, knowing that like, hey, I love Daniel Craig, I'm going to go back in his back catalog and see what kind of movies he's done. Or Tom Hanks, good luck going through his back catalog.
Yeah, no shit.
And seeing what kind of movies he's done.
Yeah, the one that recently caught me was I think it was Dragonheart. And like I'd watched it originally, and Dragonheart was the one with like Dennis Quaid and
Sean Connery.
Sean Connery's the Dragon's voice. Yeah, well, the prince that's a little shit ass in that movie that he's protecting initially. That guy ended up being David Thewlis, who played Professor Lupin.
Well, he was David Thewlis at the time too. He didn't end up being David Thewlis.
Well, he wasn't David Thewlis to me. He was just snotty little shit guy.
He was shoddy little snit guy.
Yeah, shoddy little snit.
Yeah.
Now you got me doing it.
I know, right?
Yeah, he was a shitty little snot ass.
Yeah.
Like going back and watching that movie, I'm like, holy fuck, that's Remus Lupin. And I love doing that. I love going back and watching old movies and being like, oh god, it's that guy.
And recognizing the guy. Which, I mean, I guess I did with Tyler, whatever his name was, Hoechlin or whatever. That Superman.
Yeah.
Like, Superman. Or going back and be like, the mayor from Buffy. Or, hey, that's Stanley Tucci.
Yeah, well, I mean, have you ever seen the movie True Romance?
I don't think so.
Okay, there's like I won't spoil it just in case you ever want. Do you like Quentin Tarantino movies?
Not really. I kind of just don't like Quentin Tarantino.
Really?
Yeah. Once I noticed his foot fetish, I went back and watched From Dusk Till Dawn. I didn't know Quentin Tarantino. I guess he was a producer, but he was also in it. Then there's one scene in which foot fetish stuff was like right in fucking camera, and I'm like, this is gross.
I don't know. That's why he makes movies. He doesn't care about the storylines.
No,
he wants to distract you with the N word, but the entire time he's filming their feet.
Yeah.
So while you're like,
which just makes me think of like wiggle your big toe, like zoom in on them feet.
The entire time, like he's watching it, going, "This is good.
Good movie.
This is really good directing.
This is great acting, Uma."
He's making his own porn movies, and for us, it's entertainment.
Yeah. So I'm not into Quentin Tarantino.
Well, going back and watching True Romance. Whenever you go back and watch that movie, there's like a scene in the movie that like there's a guy that appears in the flick that you're just like, holy shit, it's that fucking guy.
Okay.
And it's like it's a biggie big. But anyways, yeah, that's one of my favorite things in the world. Like Amber and I have been sitting down and watching like older movies and shit, and like sometimes I remember who's in them, sometimes I don't. She's like, holy fuck, is that the guy from The Thing? I'm like, yeah, that is the guy from The Thing.
I mean, especially when I was younger, like remembering actors' names, if they weren't like A-listers, I just didn't give much thought to it. So then, as I've gotten older and just kind of, I guess, respected movies a bit more than just being a little chick kid who's like, movie. Going back and like knowing that, hey, stop calling him Ian Malcolm. He's Jeff Goldblum. He's in more things than that. But then you get used to watching an actor, and then that's what you see them for. So it's kind of like the double-edged sword for me for seeing old people, because it's like, how many times did I call kids Superman and call the mayor and not like by the character name, like Tom Hanks. We called him Mike a couple times. We called little Mike a couple times. But for the most part, we're calling them by like actor name or other role name, not character name. Which, to me, in this movie means they didn't come alive. To me, because I couldn't see past the stardom.
It didn't stick to you.
Whereas when you watch a movie where you know no one, like that's who that person is to you. If that's the first time you've ever seen him in a thing, I mean, that's got to be the first time he's the mayor in Buffy, because that was the first time I'd ever seen him. So that cements that guy as that person to me. And then trying to drop that baggage when you go in and watch something else can be difficult sometimes, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, no, totally. Like, I was on a mission for a long time there to go back and like watch old movies that people said was like fantastic, like back from like the golden age. So like I was going and trying to find every movie that won an Oscar back in the day, like Best Picture, and going back and watching these flicks just to find out what I've been missing.
Yeah.
And honestly,
that's got to be so hard.
It was pretty hard. Like Citizen Kane, I know there's a lot of people. I don't trust anybody these days that are in the movie business where they're like, "What's your favorite movie?" And they're like, "Citizen Kane." I was like, when did you watch that movie, and why did you pick that particular? I know that's one of those ones where, and I know there's one of the 6 people out there is probably flipping out that I'm saying this right now, but it's like
Citizen Kane's so good.
I didn't get it. Like maybe I didn't watch it in the right context. Maybe I didn't go into it with the mindset of like whatever people were watching that movie back in the day or what was going on, because usually movies are like a reflection of the times we live in at this moment.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just that I wasn't walking in there with that frame of mind. But it's just I went and watched it and was just like...
Well, there's also sometimes that when a movie is popular, it gets rehashed in different ways. Like, I mean, if you were to watch like a love story between two like bitter families, and like these two fall in love with each other, and it's the first time you've ever seen that movie, and then you go back and read Romeo and Juliet, and you're like, oh, I've seen this before.
I had that feeling when I watched episode 7. I don't have to say anymore. You know what I'm talking about.
So when you go back and to old stuff that has been rehashed into new stuff, but you're used to the new stuff, now that old stuff doesn't hit quite as heavy. So I wonder if the stuff going on in Citizen Kane you've seen in other movies to the point where now Citizen Kane doesn't hit the same because it's been done, and because of your age and that being an older movie, it just doesn't feel the same to you.
Yeah, well, what was a sucker punch back then is not a sucker punch now. Yeah. So like you literally have to like film someone shooting kids to get like a reaction. Otherwise, you know, and I know that's like we've become so desensitized that it really you have to like push the fucking...
You have to push the envelope to shock people.
And even then, it's like sometimes I don't know if that's a great thing. If you're creative and you're trying to do something creative, by all means, push the envelope. But if you're putting like terrible things... Like I remember one of the first times I played one of the Call of Duty missions...
I was going to say, it's kind of asking like you want people to subvert your expectations.
Yes, but like... Yes. But like... do it in the right way. Like I know that everyone's different. I know that the stuff that I'm just like, that's not necessary. Other people will be like, dude, that's fucking badass. But like that's the difference between people who like Rotten.com and people who don't like Rotten.com. Like
I don't. All I know is that I don't like the site, and I don't remember why.
It's an old site. I don't even know if it's up anymore. But it's like it was one of those ones where if you wanted to watch the most disgusting shit from the internet, it was there.
That's probably why I don't like it.
Yeah, I didn't go and... I watched one Colombian necktie video and was like, you know what? I'm fucking done with that.
Oh, gross.
Yeah, it was something I got tricked into watching. I don't need to see that shit.
So, you were playing Call of Duty?
Yeah, so there's a mission where basically you're walking through the airport and you're basically just wasting people.
It's the no Russian mission or whatever.
Yeah, and then I remember when initially, like when the media got a hold of that, they're like, oh my god, this game is like promoting violence. Now, I've never played a video game where I felt like going to do out in the streets what I play the video game to basically cut loose and like do the shit that I'm, you know, not... I'm
never gonna do.
Yeah, so I'm not... Just because I played Grand Theft Auto does not mean that I'm going to go pick up a whore, get a knobber, and then beat her with a baseball bat so I get my cash back. No, I'm not going to do that. But no, it's just...
That's even these days, like, I'm too empathetic to, like, if I'm playing, I'm currently replaying Cyberpunk 2077. If I do, like, anything that hurts a civilian, I'm like, I gotta reload my game.
Yeah.
I don't want to hurt that guy. Even though the fact that, like, these civilians in these games, like, you turn your head and look back and they've disappeared because the game memory is just like, we're done with that person.
That or they fly off the screen.
They're so immaterial to the point of the story where you're walking by and, like, there's three of the same person. So, like, they're not characters, but I still don't want to hurt them just because I don't like that. But then there's, like, a ganger and they're like, I'm going to shoot him in the face. His head exploded. So I don't know. There's that kind of dichotomy that, like, innocent person want to help. This guy he's got a red outline, so he's an enemy, so I can shoot him and everything's fine.
So I always play the nice guy in every single movie. I always try to make the nicest, even-handed ones, and I sometimes just want to go and be a bastard. So
yeah,
Amber's expressed that she wants to reload the game, and she wants to do it now because I just got finished beating Far Cry 6, and I am chomping at the bit to play the new Horizon game. So she wants to go back and play 2077 now, so she can get through it before Horizon comes out, because she knows I am going to slow play that game. We're going to take it so slow. I'm going to take my time with that game. I am so looking forward to playing this game. It's not funny. Like, they just came out with a new trailer, I think last night. I think the GMA rewards or something like that.
Okay, I've not watched any of that stuff.
So you haven't seen the new trailer?
No.
Oh, and you haven't played the first game?
Not yet.
I'm going to loan you my PlayStation, my old PlayStation.
I'm waiting for it to go, like, super deep discount on Steam so I can pick it up.
So what's the difference between me loaning you the disc and my PlayStation so you could just play it?
I'm not going to plug in a PlayStation and play a game.
You literally unplug one fucking thing from your TV.
Well, I'm not going to do that. To play with a controller? These hands can't aim.
So what do you play with when you play your Xbox?
I don't play with it. My Xbox is a
movie streamer,
Twitch, Disney Plus, and stuff. So I mean,
it's an app host.
Well, to kind of play my hand, I picked up the Xbox One, knowing that my brother was going to probably get an Xbox, and we would be able to play games together. So after he passed away, it's kind of like, no, there's not really, definitely no reason for me to play stuff. And then I got a new computer that could actually run stuff, because for a while that was the cheap option to play new games. Now my computer, like you helped me build, is a beast. I don't need that. Like, anything on my computer is going to look infinitely better than the Xbox. So I'm going to go back to PC gaming, where I am most comfortable. Which, not PC Master Race per se, but, you know, I grew up with mouse and keyboard. That is comfortable to me. And
indeed, it's taken a long time for me to get used to. Like, I would play nothing but computer games. Like, PlayStation was for fighting games, stuff like that.
Which I still use a controller for fighting games. Whereas I think some people use the arcade joysticks. Yeah, because that's how they feel most comfortable.
Right, but like that was what PlayStation games were for: RPGs. And fighting games. But I've just now gotten to the point where I'm a little more comfortable with the D-pad, but like with mouse and keyboard, I can aim straight into where I want to shoot. Yeah. With the D-pad, you put the gun in the area and then you strafe to basically, you know, like but I've learned. And I've gotten pretty good at it because I was playing Far Cry 6 on one of the harder modes, and I've gotten to the point now where it's like I'll enter an area and it's like, okay, you can't be seen. And I'm like, headshot, and then basically I'll clear everyone out with headshots. Amber's like, you've gotten pretty good at controlling that thing. I was like, no, I've gotten very good at strafing with this thing.
Yeah, you get head level and just aim.
Yeah, you just move around. But anyways, I think we've
I mean, we've milked this far beyond but we said we were done with the Road to Perdition, and then we just kind of went off on that tangent. Yeah, we put the tangent at the end. Hey, but we left the little teaser for next week until the end. So if you had to go, you had to get through the tangent anyway, or just skip. Like you can just kind of hit the fast forward button on YouTube, or you just tap your finger and like tip.
Yeah, if you want to know what we're watching next week, fast forward to this time. There's nothing there. I don't know how to do that yet, but
and it would also be it would be up here. This is where the cards go. Right there. That's where you put the cards.
If you say so,
I'm not good at camera stuff because you saw how long it took me to angle my finger.
It's not going to be like this isn't going to be reverse. This is how they're going to watch it. So skip to this point in the timeline.
Right near the end.
Yeah, right there.
That's what we're going to hopefully say. Now.
Yeah, hopefully it was right around that bub. That way we look smart. But anyways.
All right. So, is there any other tangents that we want to go on before we wrap this mofo up?
No, I'm ready for a cigarette and a good pee.
All right. Hopefully, different one than the other.
They're going to be at the same time.
All right. So, Lance, have you seen Geisha Assassin?
What is that?
It's my next movie selection. Have you seen Geisha Assassin?
No. Can I have an alternate?
Okay. Have you seen The Return of Jafar?
Seriously?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll watch Geisha Assassin.
All right. How convenient. Oh, look at that right here. A movie that is probably so obscure that this is probably the only way you're going to watch it. Look at that, Geisha Assassin. It looks so good.
Where did you have that hidden?
You don't want to spoil my secret.
This is my house, and I didn't see that coming.
So this is one that I like. So like I said, would sit around with my brother and kind of go to Best Buy and just look through movies. And we had a kick of Korean, Japanese, or Chinese movies where we would just kind of buy them and because those always have, they're either going to be really good or really bad, and either way, it's kind of fun.
So should we not say if you liked or didn't like this one?
Sure. Because this is one, like when you talk about why would you have it on DVD if you didn't like it? Well, how else was I going to see this movie? It's on DVD. I'd never heard of it before. I'm like, I'm going to buy this and watch it with my brother.
Spoiler, we didn't come up with the idea of confusing each other with what we were going to show each other until the middle of this video, and then conveniently this movie was picked out. So I'm going to guess you like this one.
Well, we've always talked about you're going to make me watch Fist of the North Star at some point in time because you hate that movie. Don't worry, I will never subject you to a movie that shall remain unnamed because I despise it, and not in a fun.
You mean the one we bleeped out?
If at this point in time we've learned editing, that you would have not heard the name of that movie because I don't want to give it. I want to give it zero promotion.
If you want to seriously give it zero promotion, I still haven't learned how to edit. I will just go to everyone's house that watches the video and lean in their door and go beep. So I'll do that for you since you really don't want to give that movie any play.
No, it's going to show the top of her head. So, Geisha Assassin. It's a martial arts movie, and if ever a fighting game movie was to be translated to film, I would say like that one right there is a decent enough watch.
Okay, I'll watch it.
I mean, if you're really feeling uppity, we could do a double feature
of
the return of
fuck
Jafar. And Geisha Assassin, because news. 1 week, I'm just going to be like, hey, Lance, have you seen The Return of Jafar? And you're like, do you have an alternate? I'm like, no.
So might as well just go ahead and get them both out of the way?
I mean, if you want.
Let's see where the week takes me.
All right. So, Geisha Assassin.
Wait, do you have Return of Jafar on DVD?
That's on Disney Plus.
I thought I had an out.
You have 0 outs.
Shit. Okay.
As a matter of fact, I don't know if people can track down this movie to watch. But
it's got to be on like Amazon or
I don't know.
One of those.
I didn't look because I got it right there.
So when you go in like Kmart or Walmart, there's going to be this giant tub of movies.
Dollar movies.
Yeah. The first one you see, like Jackie Chan's Super Cop on top, just dig. It's down there. So
I hope so. If they only have Blu-rays, it's probably, I doubt it made it to Blu-ray. Maybe it did.
know.
I would hope so.
All right.
So
I'll watch Geisha Assassin.
Geisha Assassin.
And I will also watch Return of Jafar.
All right.
If I have time, and Jack has to be in the room with
That's
me.
fine.
Okay.
It's got music. He'll like it.
So if I'm like when we get to the part where the fucking bird sings and Jack, all I heard was crying the entire time, you'll understand why.
Yeah, sure. Be like, I don't know why, but this movie makes me sad. That's all I heard was crying. All right.
You didn't laugh when I said the fucking bird sings. Does the bird fucking sing in this movie?
Oh, not in Geisha Assassin.
Okay. All right. That's fair enough.
All right. So next week, Geisha Assassin, maybe Return of Jafar?
Maybe.
Return of Jafar will be easier to track down than Geisha Assassin. Or I guess Geisha versus Ninja is another name for it. Maybe that one's easier to track down.
Maybe they can find that version
No,
instead.
maybe they can find that version.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
All right. So we've been talking movies with you.
Yeah, and oh god, I gotta watch The Return of Jafar. I thought that was just going to be a casual mention, and okay.
All right. So I've been Nick,
And apparently, I'm being tortured, and I'm Lance.
You've never even seen it. All right.
How good can it be? It's a straight to DVD video movie for Disney.
All right. So we will hopefully see you next time.
Pray for me.